Welcome to Passionate World Talk Radio. Educate, enlighten, entertain.
Hello, everyone. I have to do a disclaimer. Any information discussed in this interview may not be the views of the station or the host. Please discuss any information or advice with your primary care physician. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio, where we educate, enlighten, and entertain. Folks, though, I have a special guest for you. This month is June, of course. Everyone knows that. It is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. And I have a special guest today. And I bring guests on who I wish I knew about when my husband was alive. And to help you, the audience. And I just adore this woman. I just adore this guest. If you're not familiar with her, I advise you to get familiar with my guest. And I'm going to tell you about my guest. My guest is Judy Cornish. She's amazing. She's an author. She's a retired elder law attorney. She is a former geriatric care manager. She was a TEDx speaker. You have got to get on your computer and look that up. Also, founder of the Dementia and Alzheimer's Wellbeing Network, known as DAWN, D-A-W-N, creator of the DAWN method of dementia care. And also, I can't even read my handwriting, it's the books, Dementia with Dignity, the Dementia Handbook, How to Provide Dementia Care at Home. And your other book is Dementia with Dignity, Living Well with Alzheimer's or Dementia, using the DAWN method. And, folks, these are 5-star reviews. I'm telling you, if you hear this podcast, go on your computer and order these books and look up Judy Cornish's TEDx Talk. Welcome, Judy, to Chatting with Betsy. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, thank you, Betsy. Thank you for inviting me. I've been really looking forward to chatting.
Oh, you're welcome. When I do the interview, I'm just me, and I do wish I knew you when Matt was alive. It would have made my life easier. And just the resources, this is why I do my show, to have people like you on, Judy. And I like to know, because I'm so curious, what is the DAWN method? And
yeah.
I know that could be like 2 hours, right?
That's actually it's 12. It takes me 12 hours to teach it.
But you do offer teaching.
I do, but really what the DAWN method is, it's what I learned when I became intrigued with a neighbor who was experiencing dementia, and I saw that what she was experiencing was not what I'd heard dementia was. And so the DAWN method is what I've learned I spent for 5 years. I walked away from my law career and spent 5 years with people experiencing dementia. Just being their companion, being a caregiver, being a case manager, being the geriatric care manager with their families. And what they taught me, that's the DAWN method. So it's essentially strength-based person-centered care. It's recognizing the strengths, the things we can do, the things we become better at doing, even when dementia takes away some of our skills. So I'm a lawyer, so I can't be brief. I'm afraid I'm going to be. It's hard for me to give you a short answer.
That's okay. And now, does DAWN, I'm from New Jersey, so people may not understand my accent, D-A-W-N, folks, and do those letters, do they mean, anything like the D? What does that stand for? Maybe you could do with that.
It's short. It's the acronym for Dementia and Alzheimer's Wellbeing Network. But it took me forever to pick a name for what I had learned and what I wanted to teach others and share with others, because I wanted to pick something that inspired hope rather than fear and everything being lost. I really don't like that message that all is lost when somebody begins to experience dementia, because it's just not true. It really is a dawning of a different type of approach to living and life experience. But it's like everything, and it's, we have to know how to work with something if we want it to go, for it to work. And dementia is no different. Yeah.
Yes. I have learned, and I really love the quotes that you do in various support groups. I'll just throw this little promo out there. If anyone's looking for a support group, #Kick Alzheimer's Ass Movement. Judy Cornish is a member. She posts beautiful quotations and very helpful resource. And my group and many others, I find, Judy, and maybe you have found this too, caregivers, okay, when you get that diagnosis, you're like, oh, my goodness, what does that mean? What do I do? Where do I go? And people think, okay, now my loved one's going to die. And instead of sitting around waiting to die, live your life as best as you can for as long as you can. And I think that attitude really needs to start catching fire a lot more.
That's right. I agree. That's so true, Betsy, because we don't. We know if your dementia is a result of Alzheimer's, then you've got about a decade. I think we're still saying is the average, but there's so many different ways that we can develop dementia, and none of them cause instant death or even, death within a year. It's not like, certain types of cancer. And really, I think, one of the most important things I think to understand is dementia itself is not a disease. It doesn't have physical symptoms. It's not like being diagnosed with cancer or being diagnosed with Parkinson's or, having an accident and losing physical functioning in some way. But it's a condition, and it can result from any number of diseases. It could result from a life event, like a bad reaction to an anesthetic or a traumatic brain injury. It can also, we now know, it also can be the result of, eating too much processed food. Nitrates, processed meat is, I think, the latest one that comes to mind. So when we're talking about a condition, that's like talking about something like COPD, where this person, we're going to now we're going to lose some skills. We're going to lose, it's going to change the way we function. It's going to change what we're able to do. And so just like if you were diagnosed with COPD, you'd want to take into account, you'd want to learn, what is it that I shouldn't try to do anymore, and what should I expect to be able to carry on with? And that's working with it. And then that way there is hope. And, the thing about dementia, it's because what it's doing to us is changing our cognitive skills rather than changing physiology. It will change your relationship, and everything becomes paradox. So it's like everything you used to know with this person, your loved one, now it's going to be gradually changing and sometimes very quickly changing. But even though it's changing, there's going to be another way, and sometimes it's a better way, that you can now get along together and enjoy life and enjoy companionship. But if we don't know that, and so, it would be like having COPD and thinking that we can still go jogging in the city center with all the exhaust. We can't. Now we've got a condition. So now we have to think about different ways to accommodate our changed breathing abilities. So dementia, it changes your memory skills. So now you have to think about different ways to accommodate not having access to information from the past. So, and thinking skills. We have to think, okay, so now if this person is becoming unable to see cause and effect, and they're becoming unable to recognize that one thing is more important than another, or they're becoming unable to see a sequence. So, even the simplest task becomes impossible because they can't see, I'm going to do A, and then B, and then C. And that means I will have brushed my teeth. But that's not our only set of thinking skills. We just have to begin using the other set more and relying on that, our intuitive thinking skills. And they're the primary. And they're the ones that actually enable us to enjoy companionship and beauty and, all the quality of life things. Whereas rational thinking skills, that's for getting jobs done, doing tasks.
Right. And I always love to see you're encouraging, to, I didn't write down some of the quotes, but just the general, what I get from when I read your quotes is that, we need to work with our loved ones' abilities that they still have and to adjust to their abilities and break down a job, break down something. I know in my case, as Matt progressed, I couldn't just, brush his teeth, shave him, and shower him. I then had to break it down to smaller steps.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? I mean, and it cracks me up, Judy. I have to say this. People think, oh, well, I'll do a crossword puzzle or something with my loved one. Well, if they didn't like doing that before dementia, they may not like doing it with dementia.
Right, yeah. And then, like in care facilities, they say, we've got lots of programming. We've got all kinds of activities. But if you've really sat down and thought about it, most activities are designed to be accomplished, and accomplish means succeed, which means you're going to go through a series of steps, and there's an outcome you're supposed to arrive at. We can't do that if we don't have the ability to recognize sequence or to follow a sequence. But the trouble is, we as people, we just don't think about these things, and so to me the best example. And the top three most frustrating things for me when I was a caregiver, and I think for most of us, would be number one is cause and effect. Because, and all of us we've been using that cognitive skill since we were born. Like even an infant very quickly recognizes that if they cry, mom comes running, or somebody does. And if they smile, everybody smiles right back at them, right? So that's an infant beginning to use cause and effect. So it doesn't even cross our minds that our loved ones have lost that skill. But that's a critical skill. And the easiest example, it always stands out in my mind because it's the way I learned. I was with one of my clients, and it was, this is Idaho, so it was blowing snow sideways. It was like 20 degrees out there and windy and 6 inches of snow on the ground. So we're in her living room, and I want to take her out to buy groceries and then get a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Because I want us to do something fun to get out of the house, maybe bump into a friend of hers in the grocery store, and then spend some time together chatting. I want to make sure she's got lots of sensory and social stimulation so she'll sleep tonight. So there we are. I point out the window, and it's almost a whiteout of a snowstorm. And I say, well, boy, it looks cold out there. We should put our winter coats on today. And she looks out the window where I'm pointing. She says, yeah, it's snowy. And then I hold out her coat, and she says, I'm not wearing that. And so I think, okay, she didn't understand me. I need to be clearer. And I say, oh, Mary, but you see, we're going to go out and get in the car, and then we have to walk from the car to the grocery store. You're going to get cold, so you really need to put your coat on. And she looks at me, and now she's a little bit miffed. And she looks at me, and she says, no. She's irritated. And at that point, I finally clued in, because maybe I'd done this maybe 100 times already. Instead of pushing it and insisting that she wear a coat because she should, because she needs to, because it's cold out there, because she will be cold when she walks out, I suddenly get it. And I say, oh, well, no worries. I'm going to wear my coat. You know me, I'm always cold. Do you mind if I take your coat along, just in case? And now she brightens up and she smiles and she says, oh, honey, that'd be fine. Go ahead. And so I'm carrying her coat under my arm. We walk out the back door, and you can count it. Like somebody who has no memory skills and no rational thinking skills, they're living in the psychological present, which is 3 seconds. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. 3 seconds later, she turns to me from the top step, and she says, oh, I'm cold. And I say, oh, not a problem. We brought your coat. Isn't that great? We brought your coat. She and I go off for grocery shopping and have coffee. No conflict. We have a lovely morning together. Both of us really enjoy ourselves. What happened? The caregiver, the companion, clued in that she was unable to perceive cause and effect. So I stopped. I stopped immediately. I didn't embarrass her. I didn't frustrate her. I didn't put her on the spot. I just went with it because I recognized that she couldn't do that. And it's little things like that. See, that's what it means to recognize my strengths, recognize what I can't do, which skills I lost, and which ones I can use still. Those are my strengths. And she had absolutely no trouble at all enjoying companionship, love, joy, she loved beauty, everything that was beautiful to her. She had no impairment. She was totally able to enjoy it. Fresh air, animals, music, everything, all the good stuff in life, she's fully equipped to enjoy. But I needed to change my expectations because I was expecting her to be able to use cause and effect. And then, the second one is sequencing. Every time you say, gee, honey, you need to take a shower, you've actually asked the person to do about 20 things.
Yes.
And, it's yes. even like, hey, honey, you need to comb your hair. It's a little bit messed up in the back. I know you can't see it. Well, that's 3 steps right there. We can't expect people to be able to perceive or follow a sequence, steps in a task, when they lose that skill. And then prioritization, that one drives people crazy. That drives us, the caregivers. It frustrates us no end. But what's going on is your companion, your loved one, has lost the ability to prioritize ideas or actions. That's the technical speak. But what that means is if I'm experiencing dementia and my husband wants me to get ready to go downtown, and, let's say we got an hour to be there, and I'm on the couch with my morning coffee and I'm watching the Today Show. And he says, hey, Judy, we got about 1 hour. You need to put your coffee down, turn off the TV, and come in here and get a shower and get dressed because we got to be downtown. Everything he just said to me sounds like an accusation. it sounds like he's finding fault. It sounds like he's criticizing me. If I'm not able to see that one thing might be more important than another, or that time is going to require that I stop doing something I like and then more quickly do something I'm not really fond of. So, this is why it is so exhausting to spend time with somebody who's losing cognitive skills, is because we really aren't trained to recognize what our human cognitive skills are anywhere in life. How many of us have had training in our various types of memory skills? Or, I know I'll talk to a group and I'll say, how many of you understand or can tell me what our two separate sets of thinking skills are? And I think I get one or two people out of 100 that can tell me rational thinking skills are secondary and our primary set of thinking skills are intuitive thinking skills. Those are the official titles.
Wow. I knew about rational.
Yeah, we do.
Intuitive.
In America.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Judy, I just love what you're saying. I'm like sitting here in New Jersey with like goosebumps, because I agree 100% with everything that you said. It's true. I was a caregiver first for my mother-in-law, didn't know anything about Alzheimer's then, was more educated with Matt, but still I learned with Matt as I went along. And, I couldn't just say to Matt, okay, Matt, we're going to the doctor's today. Here's your clothes. Let's go. Couldn't do that.
Right. Couldn't do that.
At a certain point. I had to break it down. I do have to get up. I got up 4 hours before the appointment.
Right. That's right. Yep. And then you just focus on one step at a time. And like when I'm teaching families and when I was teaching caregivers, I'd say, okay, here's the plan. If you want this to work, if you want to have a good morning, if you want to accomplish your goal, and your goal is get to the appointment on time. In fact, your actual goal is to get to the appointment at all. Because the chances are, it's like I always tell people with dementia, everything's still possible, but success, completion, or accomplishment is less probable because one of you has lost that set of thinking skills, rational thinking, those skills that we use to accomplish tasks, to do work. So it's only possible you're going to get to that appointment, but you just focus one step at a time. What's the most important thing? And if it's my husband and I'm experiencing dementia and I'm on the couch with coffee, most important thing, make sure Judy drinks that first cup of coffee or she's going to be cranky. So, like, make that happen and stay. And how do you make that happen? Sit down with her and drink your coffee and talk and enjoy the moment. Enjoy drinking a cup of coffee. And that's the way to make it happen the fastest. That will give you your best chance of actually getting to that appointment. Once that happens and your mugs are on the counter, what's the next most important thing? Take a look at me. What am I wearing? Do you want me bathed or do you want me in clean clothing? Is it a dentist appointment? Maybe you want my teeth brushed. Whatever is the most important thing, that's it. One thing, one step. You the companion picks, and now you try to accomplish just that one thing. Let's get my teeth brushed. Best chance of getting that to happen is going to be that both of us need to brush our teeth. It's not me, it's not John telling Judy what to do because he's in charge and he's the superior and he knows and I don't. It's teammate. It's the two of us together. We're a couple. We're in this together. Let's both get our teeth brushed and feel good about it. And then once that happens, it's like, okay, next, how much time have we got? What's the most important thing that happens right now? Clean shirt. That might be a clean shirt. That might be all we can accomplish. Or we might have to, at that point, reassess and think, gosh, gee, Judy's pretty upset today. Maybe this is not in her best interest to go to this dentist appointment after all. Maybe we need to do something else and postpone. So as a companion, we're always just, looking at our loved one's emotional state and thinking about what they are really equipped to do. And then we change our expectations from what they were able to do before they began to experience this condition, and we change our expectations to what we know they can do now that they are experiencing this condition. And then that way, we're a little less frustrated too.
Yes.
But that comes from understanding, doesn't it?
Yes. And educating. This is why, Judy, I've been banging the drum, not only educating that caregivers should educate themselves about their loved one's disease, but educate yourself as a caregiver on how to be the best caregiver you can be. And I'll tell you, your course is the way to go. And I have to tell people there here or that are listening, if you're a caregiver, take my word for this. I learned from experience. Telling your loved one to hurry up does not work. Okay? It does not work. It's only going to get you both frustrated.
Right. Think about what we say. We say things like, oh, wait a minute, so you don't understand. Well, here, let me explain this to you, honey. And as soon as we start using words like, well, you see, you need to, you should, well, you can't, you have to do this, well, that's going to happen and that's going to happen, therefore this will happen. Well, I just used a whole bunch of words that require prioritization to comprehend. And if I can't prioritize, then all I've heard is, my spouse or my child or a young caregiver telling me what to do. And now I'm feeling like I'm being disrespected. So guess what I'm going to do now? I'm going to do everything I can to get a little respect. I'm going to say no and gain control of the situation of myself again. And when I'm losing, my vocabulary, I'm losing my ability to imagine or plan for the future, because that's part of your rational thinking skills. I am really stuck. So often the only thing our loved ones can do is respond with, technically what it is a stress reaction. Fight or flight or freeze. And for some of us it's fawn. So, I think we have to step back and really think about if dementia, let's think about this. So dementia is a condition. It's not a disease. It's not like cancer where we've got chemo and radiation therapy and we could remove a tumor. Those are medical procedures. We don't have any of those for dementia. There's no medical procedure or chemical drug that will give you back your rational thinking skills. The ones we say help with memory skills are pretty questionable when you look at the research, really questionable. So we can't change that, but we do know that if you go to a neurologist, they're going to tell you your loved one is impaired, and they might say executive functions, which is rational thinking. They might say memory skills, but they'll tell you about these, and then we come home because they've given us no treatment, and we look around, and somehow in the industry we've decided that those actually are not the symptoms. The real symptoms are something called dementia-related behaviors. Well, okay, wait a minute. Those behaviors, what are they? Okay, exit-seeking, wandering, combativeness, restlessness, sundowning. Wait a minute. I raised 3 boys. I definitely saw all of those behaviors probably on a daily basis because I raised 3 kids. And those behaviors, when you think about it, every one of those behaviors are things that we, as human beings, things that we do when we feel afraid, confused, frustrated, whenever we're under stress. So we are leading ourselves down the wrong path. We're setting ourselves and our loved ones up to fail because we're calling human stress behaviors dementia-related behaviors. So instead of recognizing that we should just begin thinking about how our loved ones feel to get rid of those behaviors, we turn instead to disease, to doctors, and we say, well, come on, you got to give me something. You know, give me a drug that makes my loved one unable to express their feelings. That's psychotropic drugs. Or give my loved one a drug that, makes them drowsy, or, changes their mood set point. And really, bottom line, if somebody's not happy, and they're your companion, you're not going to be happy either. And until the one who's able, the caree, the person who's providing the care, the person who has not lost their cognitive skills, until that person begins to work with the skills that remain and the emotional needs of the person who has lost cognitive skills, until they begin to work with that compassionately, neither of you are going to be happy, and you're both going to end up really, really stressed and emotionally broken by the experience.
True. And what I love about you, Judy, and when you post, you are so into the respect of the individual who has dementia. Yes. Respect them, show compassion, yes. Meet their needs. And, was I a perfect caregiver? Of course not. No one is. But I'll tell you, if you're a caregiver listening to this, you really need to read Judy's books. You want an easier time? I wish I knew about it. I would have read those books. I would have taken Judy's course. I would want Judy to live with me. It really makes a difference. And sometimes, Judy, I know you've seen this too, caregivers get in their own way. They won't bend. They won't compromise.
We can't help
for their loved one.
But we really can't help it. I mean, I give everybody grace because here's the thing. If it was anyone who's raised a child knows it's hard. It's difficult to be a parent, and there are no perfect parents. Well, right. It's also difficult to do many things in life. It's difficult to climb the corporate ladder. It's difficult to change your socioeconomic status. It's difficult to be a single mom. It's difficult to be a university student on your own and pay your way. All of these things, life is struggle. It just is. None of us are perfect. None of us will be completely, unfailingly making the best decisions every time. That's the way it is. But bottom line, to be the companion of somebody who's losing cognitive skills is the most difficult thing you will ever tackle. It's the most difficult thing to ever do. It's easier to spend time with somebody who's gaining skills. It's easier to spend time with somebody who is in stasis, neither losing nor gaining skills. It's easier to spend time with somebody who is losing physical skills than cognitive skills. And when you begin to spend time, or when you must spend time with somebody who's losing cognitive skills, it is the most difficult thing you, with your human brain, the way our brains are designed, the way they developed, and our emotions and everything we are as creatures, human beings, it is going to be the hardest thing you've ever tackled, and the only way out is through. It's the valley of the shadow of death, right? Psalm 23.
Mm-hmm.
It is difficult, and you've got to go with it. You've got to learn how to work with it. But
yes,
if your loved one is giving you a hard time, that's because they're having a far worse time. And they're not giving you a hard time. They're reacting to you when you inadvertently are embarrassing them, putting them on the spot, frustrating them, and setting them up to fail. They're the ones that are losing.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Judy, I've said this so many times. No one wants to be set up for failure. So don't set up your loved one for failure. I give the example. Right. Don't take your loved one out when they're sundowning to go out to eat dinner. Go at a quiet time. Go when they're in a better frame of mood. Or going over someone's house for the holiday. Right. Yeah. Order in. I could never understand why people put their loved ones in a situation where the outcome is not going to be good.
Exactly. And then be upset. Don't be upset. Yes. You're the one that was in charge. You think about what you're doing and learn what it means to be experiencing dementia, and you'll both benefit. You'll both live better lives, much more comfortable lives. Yeah.
Yes. Judy, it was such an honor and a pleasure talking to you. How do people get in touch with you to take your courses and to buy your books?
We've everything's on the website, and it's all, at this point technology is so complicated, but everything's there, and you just go to the Dawn Method, and dawn means sunrise, means hope, DAWN, thedawnmethod.com, and the books are right there. There's lots of free resources and free support material for families. There's also a set of little short 10 to 20 minute videos. There's 36 of them in a subscription we call Home Care. And you just buy a 1-year subscription, and my IP attorney was horrified, but I said, I want families to be able to buy one subscription and train 6 people at a time. And he's like, no, you can't do that with software. I'm like, yes, Nathan, I want to do that. So, it's designed for a family, for all the members of the family to be able to watch the videos at the same time so they all understand what's going on with their loved one who's beginning to experience dementia or already well into the path, into the journey.
That is so awesome that I can't put it into words. And I know it may sound redundant, folks, that I'm telling you, the best thing you can do for your loved one is to love up on them, spend time with them, and learn how to be the best caregiver that you can be. Are you going to make mistakes? Yes, we all make mistakes. No one's perfect. But what Judy Cornish has to offer, I would jump on my computer if I was taking care of a loved one with dementia and take your Judy's courses and get her books, because it will make a difference. Knowledge is power, folks. Education is a wonderful opportunity, it's a wonderful thing. We need to educate ourselves on being the best caregiver we can be for our loved ones. And I want to thank you, Judy, for writing your books, doing what you do to help caregivers. I saw your TEDx talk. Somebody posted it. I don't remember who or where, and I watched it. And I said, I have to interview Judy Cornish. I've got to interview her. I wished I knew about this woman, long time ago, and I could have been a better caregiver. And, caregivers do have guilt, and a lot of it's unjustified. But you know what?
Unjustified. That's right. Yep.
Yes, unjustified guilt. But, we can learn. And this is why I have people like yourself, Judy, on my show to let people know there is help out there. There are resources out there, and to take advantage of them. And, that this is what my show is about, is to help other people, because I wish I heard of you. I wish there was someone telling me about resources to help me be a better caregiver. So I tell people,
I'm just,
don't do my mistakes.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no.
You're welcome.
And you know what I really think our problem is now is there's so much out there. And
yes.
there's so much that you can't find the wheat for the chaff, to use a very old adage, but it's just very difficult to find something that's truly helpful. But boy, everything I teach, I learned just being with, spending time, just be with people who are experiencing dementia. They taught me, and really everything I teach is their message. All of my clients, neighbors, and friends there in Moscow, Idaho, over those years. So thank you so much for inviting me, Betsy. I'm just thrilled to be a part of your work.
Oh, well, you're welcome, and my pleasure, and thank you for coming on. And I would love to have you on again sometime next year. You're a retired elder law attorney. People ask a lot of questions all the time. What do I do, when my loved one's diagnosed? And you would be excellent resource.
We could chat about that, but I'd be honored to come back again. Glad.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Judy. Folks, yes, I know I sound redundant, but go on www.thedawnmethod.com. Help yourself be a better caregiver and help your loved one be the best that they could be at the skills that they have. And I just really want to encourage everyone to do that and to go on the website and look at what Judy has to offer. And I want to thank everyone for listening. Please share this podcast to help someone else. And if you missed any of this podcast, you can catch it all over wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, on Spotify, Spreaker, Apple, to name just a few. I want to thank Jeannie White, new station manager, Passion World Talk Radio, for producing the show, writing the blog. Information will be in there about Judy Cornish, so please read the blog. And I want to thank Lillian Caldwell, CEO, Passion World Talk Radio, who makes this all possible. And thank you, the listeners. And please, you could go on one of the podcast outlets, review the show. I appreciate people who share and listen. It's to help people. I say it all the time. Chatting with Betsy is not about Betsy Wurzel. It's about you, the audience, and helping you and providing you with the resources that help that you need, whether you're a caregiver or not. But someone is going to be a caregiver one day, and now you will know this information that you will have in case you become a caregiver, or you know someone who is a caregiver. Tell them about Judy Cornish. Tell them about the Dawn Method. And this is what I believe in doing, paying it forward. And I want to thank everybody. And as I always say, in a world where you can be anything, so please be kind. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio. Bye-bye now.
Are you looking for an internet talk radio station for your podcast? Look no further. At the helm of Passionate World Talk Radio are two women that want to provide a spot for you and your podcast to be heard. There are many other places for your podcast, but PWTR has the audience. You will not be disappointed. Our station has been on the internet for the past 16 years. Call us for more information. 484-364-1032 or text Jeannie White, station manager, at THECONNECTSHOW@gmail.com for podcast show details. Thank you for listening to Passionate World Talk Radio. You can listen to this program all over again by going over to https://passionateworldtalkradio.com. You can also hear it on Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Alexa, amfm247.com every Tuesday evening between 8 and 9 p.m. YouTube, Facebook, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, and all the other podcast directories one can find on the Internet.